Hello everybody, and welcome back. Last time, well, we finally completed our quest. We lit the final lighthouse and we released alchemy into the world. And with the help of the Wise One, we were able to stop Alex's whatever his plan was. Hopefully we might learn someday, who knows. So, there were actually a couple of things that I wanted to show before we finish up everything. First off, I guess I'll go over the battle mode, which sadly is pretty much the same as it was in the original Golden Sun. That is to say, you can either fight against other players, which is not available right now since we're doing it on the virtual console, or we can just fight against regular monsters. So I guess I'll just show one battle against a monster and then that'll be it. The monster that you get is at random. You may get a basic enemy or a strong boss. For example, I did a bit of battles off screen and I got to fight against Poseidon and the Abimander. So let's see what we get. Yeah, the Mad Plant is also a rather reoccurring enemy. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I kind of wish that you had the opportunity to actually set up a specific battle. For example, if you could rearrange it so you could fight either any combination of bosses throughout the first two games. Say if you wanted to fight Saturos, Menardi, Karst and Agatio, so that we can finally have that 4-on-4 battle against the Fire Clan. That would be rather cool. Unfortunately, that is not a possibility. So with that, we're pretty much done. So right here we have all of our party members. We could talk to them, but none of their lines of dialogue are rather interesting, so for now let's head back to the main menu. Alright, and the other thing that I wanted to show is, if you try to go for a new game after you have already cleared data, we get the option to play on easy mode, which pretty much gives you start the game with every single party member at the same level at which you ended, and they retain, I believe, all of their weapons and armor. They don't retain any of the synergy bestowing items, so those you do have to obtain yet again. So if you wanted to blaze through the game, then you can do that. And I think that I should also add that, of course, none of the Jinn carry over, so you have to obtain all 72 Jinn again. But the other thing, the other mode that we can play on, it is hard level. So the main difference is that every single enemy gets a boost to their HP by 1.5% and a boost to their attack and defense by 1.25%. So that does make them quite formidable. Oddly enough though, Dullahan, which was the strongest enemy, doesn't really get that much of a boost, at least when it comes to HP. And that is because, well, Dullahan normally has 16,000 HP. And the game code only allows any enemy to have up to 16,383 HP, meaning that Dullahan barely gets any boost in HP. Of course, it does still get the defense and attack boost, so it is still kind of a hard battle. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say about hard mode. I'm not going to show any battles because we will have to go over the intro and all the dialogue between Alex, Jenna and Kraden at the very beginning, so that would take forever. So I think the next place that I want to show you is back at Prox. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Welcome back! Okay, so here we are back at Prox after we just lit the final beacon. So I believe last time I mentioned that in Prox, similar to what happened with Karst and Agatio at the top of Jupiter Lighthouse, every single townspeople has some hidden lines of dialogue that can be reached if we happen to have mind read. Unfortunately, all we have on hand is Felix and Isaac, and no Jinn setup will ever grant them mind read. So what I'm going to do is I have a couple of screenshots that I obtained thanks to the Golden Sun wiki, which I will credit in the description as always, of a certain user that hacked into the game and gave Isaac the mind read ability. So let's pretend that I somehow hacked the game and I have the mind read ability. Let's begin by reading the mind of the chief. We may have underestimated the power of the synergy he unleashed. We'll have to study it more closely once we've seen Felix on its way. up next we have the Elder Puel. The power to revive the dead. It's an awesome and terrifying power indeed. Eternal life could soon be in the hands of alchemists everywhere. What a thought! So it is kind of interesting. Also, especially if we remember what was pretty much what Karst was thinking as she lay dying in the bottom of the Mars lighthouse. She said how she wished to at least live long enough to see the beacon lit. Whether she was saying that because she simply wanted to see her goal fulfilled, or because she somehow knew that the Mars synergy would revive her, we do not know. And as far as we can tell from talking to everybody here, it would seem that she did not survive, and neither did Agatia. Anyways, let's speak to the lady right here. We lost so many soldiers, and now Felix is leaving. It's going to be quiet in Prox. Alright, up next, let's go to the basement. I'm so sad. Felix doesn't even have time to enjoy the last meal I made him. So, a rather touching line, though not particularly relevant. And right here we have... Who knew that the poor, injured boy they brought back from Vale would be the one to save Prox? I'm happy that he'll finally be able to return home, but I'll miss him so. Alright, up next, let's head for the Sanctum, because the healer has a few lines of dialogue. The lighthouses are going to restore the power of alchemy to the land. But alchemy is too terrible a power to set free. So, he is still somewhat worried that alchemy may end up destroying the world. So, up next, let's go to the shop. I never imagined that little Felix would become stronger even than Agatio and Karst. It's too bad. Felix can't stick around. He make a perfect son-in-law. Alright, up next we have the house above the inn. I'm pretty much reading this in the same order as the screenshots, so that's why I am ignoring a few parts of the town. The mayor and the elders of Vale are so out of touch. When they see Felix and his friends return without the stones, they'll punish them. If they found that Felix used the treasures of Sol's Sanctum to light the beacons, that fool of a mayor would no doubt punish them from what they did to save us. So, not all of the lines belong to the man right here, some were for the lady, but yeah. Alright, up next I believe is this one. Yeah. What do we do if the falls start expanding again and Felix isn't here? Oh great, that's going to keep me up all night worrying. All the lights joined up together and shot off to the southeast. It looked like they all formed a big golden ball or something. I was afraid the falls were going to gobble me up. I am glad that's over now. Alright, up next, let's go to the inn. We will never be able to thank Felix and the warriors of Vale enough. I hope they're all happy to be home with their families in Vale again. When the earthquake hit, Felix and his friends were high up on the lighthouse. If that had been me up there, I think my heart would have stopped from fear. Up next we have the house right here. Felix and his allies saved us from certain destruction. It is a shame the rest of the world doesn't know how much they've done for us all. Now that alchemy is free, it's like the world is waking up. How will the world change after this? Alchemy has been freed. We must begin researching it in earnest here in Prox. Alright. Up next we have the igloos. Or rather, the one igloo. It's been so long since children's voices rang through our streets. I hope these children remain ignorant of how much danger we were all in. Alright, and up next we have the children. The elders were saying that the lighthouse beacon is tough to put out once it's lit. Actually, no. Yeah, I was reading the wrong one. For the next line of dialogue, we had to head back to the north section of the town. More specifically, right here, with all the warriors. And in case that you wanted to try and go back to Mars Lighthouse, well, we simply can't. The elders were saying that the lighthouse beacon is tough to put out once it's lit. The road to the lighthouse is in terrible shape after the earthquake. I have no clue how Felix and the others made it back to town on that road. If the light of the beacon keeps shining, the power of alchemy will never end. Even if Prox is attacked, the bright flames of our strength will burn on. When Felix left Prox, I didn't think much of him, but now, he's totally hot! Also, that last line of dialogue is from one of these guys, which I guess they're all female warriors. It's a bit hard to tell with the sprites that they have, but yeah. On the other hand, now that alchemy is free, maybe I should study alchemy. Maybe if I train hard enough, I'll be as strong as Menardi and Karstu are. I was the first person in town to see the... sorry, what? Yet again. We have to go back. This guy right here. I was the first person in town to see the lighthouse. I was so happy, I had to tell everyone. I felt like a little boy again, running giddily through town, shouting and waving. The blizzard's finally over. That was the worst patch of weather we have ever had. Now that our weather is returning to normal, maybe everyone will move back here. They had no choice. They had to light the 4 elemental lighthouses. Even though it might mean a rise in war and violence, it had to be done. And now we can finally talk, or rather read the mind of the children. Now that the lighthouse is lit, we don't have to play in that stupid igloo anymore. You get more exercise running in the snow, because it's a lot harder to do. That blizzard was unreal, but it's gone now, and the weather's beautiful. When Felix left town, he wasn't much of a fighter. He wasn't much of anything, really. Alright, we're almost finished here. When did he become mightier than the mightiest of Prox's warriors? Felix beat the dragon. No. I heard that Karst and Agatio were defeated by a monstrous dragon. Felix beat the dragon though. I don't know whether I'm impressed or scared of him. And finally we have the guy at the very entrance of procs. Felix has proven himself as the strongest warrior procs has ever known. And actually, the last one is the little girl right here. I bet Felix and his friends live in a nice, warm place. I wish I could go with them. Alright, so that is all the lines of dialogue that are for whatever reason hidden behind the mind read synergy. So the last thing that I really want to show is, rather the last thing that I think we should be doing is actually heading back to Vale. So we'll do just that. I'll see you guys back at the world map, more specifically near Law. I'll see you guys in a moment. Welcome back! So here we are at the tiny shore near Law, and if you look at the world map, we're pretty close to where Alt Miller Cave and Tolby would be, and in fact we can actually cross over, but it does require some very precise movement. So we need to put the ship slightly over the shore. I believe right here should work, and then if we try to leave the ship, wait a minute, there we go, we can actually cross over into parts of the world map that we were actually never meant to. But yeah, so we just went over what would be Alt Miller Cave, and Tolby should be here, but of course the town icon is not there, and neither is the town. So why don't we go ahead and head back to Vale. And yeah, even though this particular section of the map is not one that you were ever supposed to visit, there are some enemies programmed into it, but they are pretty much the basic enemies that you can encounter in the Great Western Sea. And I'm actually right now using the party with which we defeated Dullahan. That is why we have Spark Plasma and Grand Gaia and all the other stronger synergies. So let's make our way to Vale. We just went over the Kalai docks, and we would be seeing Kalai right here, but of course it is not. There we have the Lamakan Desert, and if we go north we should be running into Bolt. So yeah, we're almost there, we're almost back where everything started. Yeah, and Bolt doesn't have a town icon either. Oh, an actually weaker enemy. I thought all of them were simply the Western Sea enemies. Anyways, there we have Vale, and even though the town icon is on it, we of course cannot enter it. So yeah, this is it. Looking back on the first LP, wow, that was actually dreadful. Hopefully this one is slightly better. I do hope that the quality of the Let's Plays go up over time, but yeah, this is it for the Lost Age. Thank you, as always, very much for watching, and we'll see you guys back at the next LP, which should be coming up in a few days or maybe weeks, I don't know. But as always, thank you very much for watching.